The countdown on my phone said 3 days, 7 hours, and 22 minutes until my engagement party, and honestly, I wasn't sure if it was a countdown to joy or a firing squad. My name's Isabel, Izzy to most, and right now, my life felt like a split-screen movie. On one side, there was Jace, my amazing fiancé, the man who made me feel like I could actually breathe. On the other, my family. So, the blush pink napkins or the champagne gold is? Jace held up 2 swatches, his brow furrowed in mock seriousness. We were sprawled on our living room floor, surrounded by party planning debris. He was trying, bless him, to make this fun. Champagne gold, I said, forcing a smile. Definitely. Matches your eyes. He grinned, that easy, heart-melting grin. Smooth. You trying to get out of picking a caterer for the vegan options? Maybe, I admitted, poking his side. But mostly, I just like your eyes. He leaned in and kissed me, soft and slow, and for a moment, the knot in my stomach loosened. This party was for us, for the future we were building, far away from the long shadows of my childhood. The shadows had names: Amy, my older sister, the perfect one, and our parents, Steve and Helen, who seemed to believe Amy walked on water while I was permanently stuck in the shallow end, splashing about. Sweet, simple Izzy, Mum would say with that tight little smile. Dad would just nod, his attention already drifting back to whatever Amy was achieving that week. My phone buzzed on the coffee table. Caller ID, Mom. Jace saw my face fall. You got this, he murmured, squeezing my hand before pretending to be engrossed in a venue brochure. I took a breath. Hi, Mom. Isabel, darling. Just calling to see how you're coping with all the party stress. You know, you're not exactly the organizational type. Her voice was light, airy, like a poisoned dart wrapped in silk. Everything's under control, Mom. Jace is a huge help. Oh, good. Jace is such a dear. We're all so thrilled you've found someone so capable. It's a relief, honestly. I bit the inside of my cheek. Relief that plain, broke me managed to snag a good man? So, what color scheme did you go with, dear? Amy was just saying the other day how she hoped you wouldn't pick anything too drab. You know how she worries about your taste. It's going to be lovely, Mom, I said, my voice flatter than I intended. Well, I'm sure it'll be sweet, just like you. There it was. Oh, you'll never guess. Amy just got nominated for the Young Philanthropist of the Year award for her charity gala work. Isn't that marvelous? She's just so driven. We're bursting with pride. That's great, Mom. Really. I tried to sound enthusiastic, but it came out sounding like I was reading a grocery list. My boring admin job, as they all called it, was currently eating my soul, but not in a way I could ever share with them. The late nights, the endless spreadsheets, the pressure. It was all part of a secret I'd guarded for 3 long years. A secret Jace knew. A secret that was the actual reason I sometimes looked like a zombie. Yes, well, we're having a little celebratory dinner for her next week. You and Jace should try to make it if you're not too swamped with your little party. We'll see, Mom. I'm pretty busy with work right now. Oh, that little admin job of yours. Still plugging away at that, are you? Well, every little bit helps, I suppose. The condescension was a physical weight. Anyway, darling, must run. Amy's popping over. Just wanted to check in on my sweet, simple girl. Don't overwhelm yourself. The line clicked. I stared at my phone, the silence in the room suddenly deafening. Jace put down the brochure. You okay? Peachy, I said, trying for sarcasm, but it just sounded tired. Just got the standard Amy is a literal angel in your also present update. He came over and wrapped his arms around me from behind, resting his chin on my shoulder. They don't see you, Izzy. Not the real you. They see what they want to see, I mumbled, leaning back against him. The sweet, simple one who needs a capable man to look after her because she's too busy with her little admin job to amount to anything. The bitterness tasted like ash in my mouth. This party was supposed to be a celebration of love, of new beginnings. But with my family, every gathering felt like walking into a courtroom where I was perpetually on trial, and Amy was both star witness and prosecutor, with Mom and Dad as the nodding jury. Just get through this party, Izzy, I told myself, more a prayer than a statement. Then things will be different. Little do I know how different they're about to become. My little admin job wasn't so little, and it definitely wasn't admin. The next morning, I was at the Aegis security office before sunrise, the city lights still twinkling below our small rented space. The aroma of stale coffee and anxious energy was our signature scent. Morning, Tristan, my co-founder, mumbled, not looking up from his laptop. His hair was sticking up in 3 different directions, and he had dark circles under his eyes that rivaled mine. Morning, I replied, dropping my bag. Did you even go home? Define home, he grunted. Pretty sure my couch thinks I've moved in permanently. The latest build had a glitch. Fixed it, mostly. Aegis Security, my baby, our baby. 3 years of blood, sweat, and ramen noodles had gone into building it from an idea sketched on a napkin to a functioning cybersecurity firm with a handful of dedicated, sleep-deprived employees. We operated in stealth mode, a deliberate choice. My choice. Client X is happy with the latest penetration test results, I said, pulling up a dashboard. They're signing the extension next week. Good. We need that revenue, Tristan said, finally looking up. Any word from Vanguard Ventures? My stomach did a familiar flip. Their analyst is supposed to call today with feedback from the partners meeting. This was it. The Series A funding. The money that would take Aegis from a scrappy startup to a serious player. We'd bootstrapped, poured every penny of our savings in, maxed out credit cards I didn't even tell Jace about in the early days. My social life had evaporated. Friends stopped calling after I'd cancelled for the 10th work thing. My parents just saw it as further proof of my lack of ambition, my inability to hold down a proper job with normal hours. Izzy just likes her quiet little routines, Mum had said to Aunt Carol at last year's disastrous Christmas dinner, after I'd begged off early, claiming a headache, when, in reality, a critical server had crashed. Amy had smirked, adding, "Some people just aren't cut out for the fast lane, Mom. It's fine. She has other qualities." The pity in their eyes was worse than any outright criticism. The secrecy had been non-negotiable for me. I remembered, vividly, when I was 16. I'd won a regional science fair, a project I'd poured my heart into. I was so proud. At the celebratory dinner, Amy, then a freshman in college, had spent the entire meal dissecting my project, pointing out its obvious flaws and how it was cute for a high school thing. My parents had chuckled. "Oh, Amy, you're so sharp," Dad had said. "She's just helping you see the bigger picture, Izzy." My small flicker of pride had been snuffed out, replaced by a familiar, dull ache. Any achievement, any tiny spark of success I'd ever had, was either belittled by Amy or immediately co-opted by my parents as something they could boast about, usually in the context of how it paled in comparison to Amy's latest triumph. Aegis was mine, ours, and they wouldn't touch it until it was untouchable. "You know," Tristan said, stretching, "if this Vanguard thing comes through, you could actually, buy a new pair of shoes. Those sneakers have seen better days." I looked down at my worn-out Converse. "These are my lucky coding shoes," I retorted. "And besides, every spare cent has gone into Aegis. You know that." I do, and I appreciate it. We both do. He gave me a rare, genuine smile. We're close, Izzy. I can feel it. The day crawled by in a blur of code reviews, client calls, and endless cups of coffee. Every time my phone buzzed, my heart leaped into my throat. Jace texted me a picture of him wrestling with a giant inflatable swan for the party pool. SOS. Send reinforcements, or a very large pin. I smiled, a real smile. He was my sanity. Late afternoon, my personal cell, the one I used for Aegis business, rang. Unknown number. My breath hitched. Isabel, a crisp, professional voice asked. Speaking. This is Mark Jenkins from Vanguard Ventures. My hand tightened on the phone. Tristan stopped typing, his eyes wide. We've reviewed the final proposal, Mark continued, his voice maddeningly calm. The partners were very impressed with Aegis's proprietary threat detection algorithms and your team's vision. We'd like to move forward. I almost dropped the phone. Tristan was mouthing, What? What? Silently, frantically. Move forward, I managed, my voice squeaking. Yes, we're prepared to lead your Series A round. We just need one final in-person meeting to go over the terms, dot the I's, cross the T's. Standard procedure. How is your availability? Whenever works for you, I said, trying to sound cool, professional, not like someone whose entire future was hanging on this. Tristan was now silently fist-pumping the air. Excellent, Mark said. We have an opening with the senior partners. Let's see, this Saturday morning? Say, 9 a.m. Saturday morning. My engagement party was Saturday afternoon. The universe clearly had a twisted sense of humor. Saturday morning at 9 a.m., I repeated, my mind racing. That works perfectly. Saturday morning? Are you insane? Bethany, my best friend, nearly choked on her latte. We were crammed into our favorite tiny coffee shop, the aroma of roasted beans a welcome change from Aegis's stale air. Beth was one of exactly 3 people who knew the truth about my admin job, the other 2 being Jace and Tristan. It was the only slot they had with the senior partners, I explained, stirring my own untouched cappuccino. I couldn't exactly say, sorry, can't make it, gotta pick out canapes for my engagement party. Bethany shook her head, a sympathetic smile playing on her lips. Only you, Izzy. Only you could have the biggest meeting of your life and your engagement party on the same day. She reached across the small table and squeezed my hand. You'll nail it, though. Both of them. I hope so, I sighed. It's just... Amy. Ah, yes. The ever-present storm cloud. Bethany knew the Amy saga well. She'd witnessed years of it, from subtle digs to outright sabotage. She's going to be insufferable. It's my party, and somehow she'll make it about her, or about how I'm failing at something. A memory, sharp and unwelcome, pricked at me. I was 15, beaming with pride. My history project, a detailed diorama of a medieval castle I'd spent weeks on, had won first prize in the school exhibition. My parents had actually seemed pleased, a rare occurrence. We went out for dinner to celebrate. Amy, home from her first year of university, had joined us. Oh, Izzy, that little castle thing? She'd said, picking at her salad. It was cute. A bit simplistic, though, wasn't it? The crenellations were all wrong. And did you even research the correct period for that type of drawbridge mechanism? She'd then launched into a 5-minute lecture on medieval architecture, effectively hijacking my small moment of glory. I'd felt my face burn. I worked really hard on it. Of course you did, sweetie, Mum had said, patting my hand, but her eyes were on Amy, shining with admiration. Amy just has such a keen eye for detail. Don't take it personally. Dad had chuckled. That's our Amy. Always striving for perfection. It's a good lesson, Izzy. Always aim higher. I'd stared down at my plate, the celebratory pasta suddenly tasteless. That night, I'd quietly dismantled the diorama, piece by piece, and thrown it in the trash. It was then, I think, that the first seeds of keeping my ambitions truly private were sown. Aegis was my fortress, and its walls were built high for a reason. She's just jealous, Bethany said, pulling me back to the present. She always has been. You're smart, you're kind, and now you're marrying an amazing guy. She can't stand not being the center of attention. It's more than that, I said. It's like she needs to diminish me to feel good about herself. And Mom and Dad just let her. They always have. My phone vibrated on the table. Amy's name flashed on the screen. I groaned. Speak of the devil, Bethany muttered, rolling her eyes. I should probably take this, I said, bracing myself. Hello? Izzy! Darling! Amy's voice was treacle-sweet, a warning sign in itself. Just calling about the party. So exciting. Are you absolutely frantic? Getting there, I said, keeping my tone neutral. Everything's pretty much sorted. Oh, good. Because I was just thinking. You know how you can get a bit flustered? I wouldn't want you to forget anything crucial. Like, say, ensuring there's enough of that champagne I like. The Veuve Clicquot? The cheap stuff gives me such a headache. I'll make a note, I said, my grip tightening on the phone. Wonderful. And I was thinking, for my table, because obviously I'll have a few of my friends there, Denise and the girls, could we be somewhere prominent? Near the dance floor, perhaps? We do love to make an entrance. Your table? At my engagement party? I'm sure the venue will arrange the seating appropriately, Amy. Well, just a thought. And, listen, I've been working on something. A little surprise. Her voice dropped to a conspiratorial whisper. I've prepared a special toast for you and Jace. Something you'll never forget. A shiver, cold and sharp, ran down my spine. The syrupy sweetness in her tone was gone, replaced by something else, something edged with malice. I knew Amy. Her special usually meant specially designed to humiliate. Oh? I tried to sound casual. That's thoughtful of you. Isn't it just? She chirped, the sweetness back in full force. I've put a lot of effort into it. It's going to be memorable, truly. Anyway, must dash. Big charity committee meeting. Ta-ta. She hung up. I stared at my phone, the echo of her words lingering in the air. Something you'll never forget. Bethany was watching me, her expression concerned. What did she say? She's planning a toast, I said slowly. A special one. Bethany winced. Oh, Izzy, that sounds ominous. Yeah, I said, a knot of dread tightening in my stomach. It really, really does. This wasn't just about champagne or table placement. This was Amy, armed with a microphone and a captive audience. And I had a horrible feeling I knew exactly who her target would be. Saturday morning. D-Day. Or more accurately, Deal Day and Party Day. My suit felt stiff and unfamiliar after years in startup casual. Tristan paced the small anonymous meeting room Vanguard Ventures had booked for us, a bundle of nervous energy. Coffee? He offered, holding up a lukewarm carafe. I think if I have any more caffeine, I'll vibrate through the floor, I said, trying for a light tone that didn't quite land. My palms were sweating. The door opened, and Mark Jenkins walked in, followed by two older, stern-faced partners who looked like they ate spreadsheets for breakfast. The next hour was a blur of pointed questions, financial projections, and intense scrutiny. Tristan and I fielded everything they threw at us, our carefully rehearsed presentation flowing surprisingly smoothly. We knew Aegis inside and out. It was our creation. Finally, Mr. Henderson, the most senior partner, leaned back in his chair. Impressive, very impressive. Your threat mapping technology is innovative, and your business model is sound. He looked at his colleagues, who nodded in agreement. Vanguard Ventures is pleased to confirm our investment. $50 million, Series A. Congratulations, Ms. Wagner, Mr. Steele. $50 million. The words hung in the air. I felt Tristan's foot nudge mine under the table. I think I managed a nod. It was happening. It was actually happening. Our legal team will have the final papers drawn up by this afternoon, Mark said, smiling. You can come by our downtown office around 2 p.m. to sign. 2 p.m., I echoed, my brain struggling to process. Yes, that's perfect. We shook hands, a flurry of professional congratulations. As soon as the door closed behind them, Tristan let out a whoop and grabbed me in a bear hug. We did it, Izzy! We actually did it! We did it, I whispered, a wave of euphoria mixed with sheer disbelief washing over me. My little admin job was now officially a $50 million company. An hour later, slightly dazed, I found myself at my parents' house. I was supposed to pick up some family photos for a slideshow Jace was putting together. My dad, Steve, was in the den, reading the paper. Dad? He looked up, mildly surprised. Oh, Isabel, you're early. Your mother's out with Amy, last-minute dress fittings or some such nonsense. Right. Listen, Dad, I just had some really good news from work. I hesitated, still not ready for the full reveal, but desperate for a crumb of acknowledgement. A big project I've been working on finally came through. It's a pretty big deal. He folded his paper. Oh, that's nice, dear. That little company you're with? He didn't wait for an answer. Now, about tonight. Your mother is a bit worried Amy might feel overshadowed. It is your engagement party, of course, but Amy's been under a lot of stress with her charity work. Just make sure she has a good time, all right? No fuss. My brief flicker of hope died. Right, Dad. No fuss. I gathered the photos, the weight of his casual dismissal heavier than any stack of albums. At 1:55 p.m., I was sitting in a sleek, glass-walled conference room at Vanguard Ventures law firm, a thick stack of documents in front of me. Tristan was beside me, equally awed. The lawyers explained the key clauses, their voices a distant murmur. My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. So glad Jace is good for her. Hopefully she doesn't scare him off with her. Well, you know. Can't wait for your amazing toast, sweetie. XOXO. My blood ran cold. She'd clearly meant to send it to Amy. Well, you know. My plainness, my supposed lack of ambition, my simplicity, the casual cruelty, the effortless backstabbing, even on a day that should have been about me, still had the power to sting. But as I picked up the heavy, expensive pen, something shifted. The sting was still there, but it was overlaid with a new, icy resolve. They could whisper and sneer all they wanted. They could dismiss me, pity me, try to tear me down with their special toasts. I uncapped the pen. Let them. I signed my name, Isabel Wagner, CEO of Aegis Security, on the line that confirmed $50 million of investment. The ink was dark and decisive. I looked up, catching my faint reflection in the polished tabletop. The woman looking back wasn't plain, broke Isabel anymore. She was someone else, someone they hadn't bothered to see. Tonight, they would. Oh yes, tonight they all would. The ink was dry. The game had changed, and I was ready to play. You look radiant, Jace whispered, his eyes shining as I walked down the stairs. I'd chosen a simple, elegant, deep blue dress, something that made me feel confident, not like I was trying to be someone I wasn't. You clean up pretty well yourself, I said, adjusting his tie. He'd been a nervous wreck all afternoon, fussing over last-minute details for the party, completely oblivious to the monumental shift that had occurred in my professional life. I hadn't told him about the signing yet. I wanted to, desperately, but the words felt too big, too momentous for a rushed pre-party conversation. "Ready for this?" he asked, taking my hand. As I'll ever be. The venue was beautiful. A historic building with high ceilings, softly lit, with flowers everywhere. Jace's parents greeted us at the door, enveloping me in warm hugs. "Isabel, you look stunning." And Jace, so handsome. His mum, Sarah, gushed. His dad, Tom, clapped him on the shoulder. "Congratulations, you two. We're so happy for you." Their genuine warmth was a balm. Friends started to arrive, a happy buzz filling the room. Bethany found me, her eyes sparkling. "You did it, didn't you? The deal," she mouthed over someone's shoulder. I gave a tiny, almost imperceptible nod, and her smile widened. Then I saw them, my family, making their entrance. My dad, Steve, looking slightly uncomfortable in his suit, and my mom, Helen, already scanning the room, no doubt assessing everything. And Amy. Of course, Amy. She was dressed in a sequined monstrosity that screamed, "Look at me," a triumphant smirk already plastered on her face. She was holding court with a small group, her voice carrying across the room. "Oh, there's the happy couple," Mom trilled, gliding over. She pecked my cheek. "Isabel, dear, that dress is an interesting choice. Trying to look the part of the blushing bride, Izzy?" Amy drawled, sauntering over, her eyes flicking dismissively over my dress. "How quaint." Her friend, Denise, who always seemed to be surgically attached to Amy's hip, giggled. "I like it," I said, my voice even. "It's lovely, Isabel," Jace said firmly, slipping his arm around my waist. His support was a silent shield. "Well, as long as Jace likes it," Amy said, her smile not reaching her eyes. "That's what matters, isn't it? Keeping the groom happy." Each remark, a tiny familiar paper cut. I could feel the old tension coiling in my stomach, the automatic urge to shrink, to apologize for existing. But the woman who had signed those papers just hours ago, the CEO of a multi-million-dollar company, straightened her shoulders. Not today. The party got underway. Jace and I mingled, laughed, accepted congratulations. His family and our friends were wonderful, creating pockets of genuine joy. But I was always aware of my family's gravitational pull, the way the atmosphere shifted when they were near. Mum kept making subtle suggestions about the music, the food, the lighting, each one a veiled criticism. Dad mostly hovered near the bar, occasionally glancing at Amy with a proud smile as she regaled her friends with animated stories, her laughter a little too loud. Amy seemed to be everywhere, flitting from group to group, her voice a constant, slightly shrill presence. She'd occasionally throw a condescending look my way, a little smirk that said, "This is your party, but I'm still the star." I caught her watching me once, a strange, calculating look in her eyes. It was the look she got right before she went in for the kill. The dread I'd been suppressing began to bubble to the surface. Her special toast was coming. Jace must have sensed my unease. He leaned in close. "You okay? You seem a million miles away." "Just bracing myself," I admitted. "For Hurricane Amy?" He grimaced. "Don't let her get to you. Tonight is about us." "I know, and it will be." I squeezed his hand, trying to reassure myself as much as him. A little while later, I saw my dad approach the small riser where the DJ was set up. He tapped the microphone. The chatter in the room died down. "Excuse me, everyone, if I could have your attention for a moment," Dad announced, his voice booming slightly. "We have a few people who'd like to say a word. And first up, to offer a special toast to Isabel and Jace, is Isabel's beloved sister, Amy." A smattering of polite applause. Amy glided towards the microphone, her sequined dress catching the light, a malicious glint in her eyes that was impossible to miss. She looked like a predator spotting its prey. Jace's hand found mine, his grip tight. "Showtime," I whispered, my heart pounding a frantic rhythm against my ribs. "Here we go." Amy took the microphone, her smile dazzlingly artificial. "Thank you, Daddy. And hello, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Amy, Isabel's older sister." She paused for effect, her gaze sweeping the room before landing on me. "And I am just so thrilled for my little sister, Izzy." Her voice dripped with condescension. "Izzy has always been our sweet, simple one." A few polite, uncomfortable chuckles rippled through Jace's side of the family. My own relatives, those who knew the dynamic, shifted in their seats. Always quiet, always in the background. Bless her heart, Jace's hand tightened on mine. I could feel the anger radiating off him, but I kept my expression carefully neutral, my eyes fixed on Amy. I wouldn't give her the satisfaction of seeing me crumble. Not this time. "I remember when we were little," Amy continued, her voice taking on a mock-reminiscent tone. "Izzy had this imaginary friend, Captain Sparklefingers, or something equally ridiculous. She'd spend hours talking to him in her room because, well, let's be honest, making friends in the real world wasn't exactly her forte." A lie. Captain Sparklefingers had been her imaginary friend, a fact she'd conveniently forgotten or twisted. I saw Bethany shoot me a sympathetic look. "And school. Oh, school was an adventure for Izzy," Amy trilled, warming to her theme. "While some of us," she gestured vaguely to herself, "excelled, Izzy was more of a participant, content to just get by. Weren't you, sweetie?" She didn't wait for an answer. "But that's okay. Not everyone can be a high flyer. The world needs ditch diggers too, right?" Denise, Amy's loyal sycophant, let out a loud, braying laugh. My mother, Helen, had a faint, tight smile on her face, as if Amy were delivering some charming, albeit slightly risque, family anecdotes. My father, Steve, was nodding along, a proud glint in his eye as he watched his brilliant eldest daughter command the room. Their complicity was a fresh stab of pain, sharper than Amy's barbs. "And then there were her career aspirations," Amy went on, her voice laced with pity. "So many little jobs. That phase where she wanted to be a poet. And then the temping. Oh, the endless temping. We were all so worried she'd never find her footing. Never really amount to much, if you know what I mean. Always a bit plain, and perpetually broke." The air in the room was thick with discomfort. Some guests were staring at their plates, others exchanged awkward glances. Jace's jaw was clenched so tight, I worried he'd crack a tooth. I put a restraining hand on his arm, a silent plea. "Not yet." "But then," Amy said, her voice softening dramatically, "then she met Jace. Wonderful, handsome, successful Jace." She beamed at him. "And suddenly things started looking up for our Izzy. It's amazing what a good man can do for a girl who's struggling." She turned back to me, her smile a weapon. "Honestly, Izzy, we were all so surprised when Jace proposed. You're definitely marrying up, sweetie. He's so far out of your league, it's not even funny, but he clearly sees something in you. Perhaps your hidden depths." She winked, as if sharing an inside joke with the audience. I felt a flush creep up my neck, but I held her gaze. My face was a mask, carefully constructed, betraying nothing of the storm raging inside. Years of practice, years of enduring her casual cruelty, her relentless need to diminish me. Amy raised her champagne flute. "So, let's all raise our glasses to dear Isabel, who has, against all odds, found her little piece of security with Jace." Her voice dripped with false sincerity. We're all so surprised for you. And Jace, darling, good luck. You'll need it. She beamed, basking in the spotlight, clearly expecting applause, or perhaps my tears. Instead, a heavy, awkward silence descended upon the room. Even Denise's follow-up titter sounded forced and out of place. Amy's smile faltered for a fraction of a second. I took a slow, deliberate breath. The air tasted like metal. Then, I stood up, and I walked towards the microphone she had just vacated. My heels clicked softly on the riser as I reached the microphone. Amy was still standing there, a smug, expectant look on her face, as if she couldn't wait to see how I'd try to recover from her public assassination. "Thank you, Amy," I said, my voice surprisingly steady, amplified slightly by the microphone. It cut through the awkward hush. That was truly illuminating. Amy's smirk widened a fraction. She probably thought I was about to dissolve into a puddle of humiliated tears. "And I appreciate your concern for my plainness and brokenness and my future security," I continued, my gaze sweeping across the room. I saw Jace, his expression a mixture of fury and concern. I gave him the smallest, quickest, reassuring glance. My eyes found my parents, Mum looking vaguely uncomfortable now, Dad still with that proud of Amy sheen. Then, I looked directly at Amy. "It's funny you mentioned security," I said, a small, tight smile playing on my own lips. "Because I actually have a small announcement of my own." A murmur rippled through the crowd. Amy's smirk faltered, replaced by a flicker of confusion. "Most of you, especially my family, think I have a boring little admin job. The one Amy so kindly reminded you all about." I let that hang in the air for a beat. "The truth is, for the past 3 years, I haven't been temping or finding my footing. I've been building my own company." Another, louder murmur. I saw Bethany grinning from ear to ear. Jace's jaw, which had been clenched in anger, now hung slightly open in surprise. He knew about Aegis, of course, but not the scale, not the news I was about to drop. "It's called Aegis Security," I stated clearly. "A cybersecurity firm." Amy's face was a picture. The smugness was gone, replaced by a dawning look of disbelief. Her mouth opened slightly. "We've been operating in stealth mode," I explained, my voice gaining strength with every word. "It's been demanding, long hours, a lot of sacrifices, the kind of thing that might make someone seem perpetually broke when they're reinvesting every penny into their dream." I paused, letting the anticipation build, savoring the sudden, absolute stillness in the room. Every eye was on me. "And as of this afternoon," I said, my voice ringing with a clarity and confidence I didn't know I possessed, "Aegis Security officially closed its Series A funding round." I looked directly at Amy, then at my parents. Their faces were frozen. "Valuing Aegis Security at $50 million. Silence. Absolute, stunned, pin-drop silence. Then, chaos. A collective gasp seemed to suck the air out of the room, followed by an explosion of whispers, exclamations. "50 million? Her own company? Did she say 50 million? Jace was staring at me, his eyes wide, a slow, incredulous smile spreading across his face. He looked like he might actually explode with pride. His parents were beaming, looking at me with newfound awe. But my focus was on my family. Amy's jaw had literally dropped. Her carefully applied lipstick seemed to crack around her open mouth. The color drained from her face, leaving it a ghastly white, quickly followed by an ugly, mottled red that clashed horribly with her sequined dress. She looked like she'd been slapped. My father, Steve, just stared, his mouth agape, his earlier pride in Amy completely wiped away, replaced by utter, slack-jawed shock. He looked like he'd seen a ghost, or perhaps, witnessed a particularly dull rock suddenly turn into a diamond. My mother, Helen, clutched her chest, her eyes darting between me and Amy. She looked like she might genuinely faint. Her sweet, simple daughter, the one who needed a capable man, had just announced a $50 million valuation. The math clearly wasn't computing. So, yes, I concluded, my voice calm despite the adrenaline coursing through me, looking directly at my speechless, horrified sister. I think my future security is pretty well handled. By me. Amy opened and closed her mouth like a fish gasping for air, but no sound came out. Her eyes, usually so full of derision and condescension when they looked at me, were now wide with a mixture of shock, disbelief, and something that looked suspiciously like raw, unadulterated panic. The sweetest sound in the world? My sister's stunned, bitter silence. I placed the microphone back on its stand. The room was buzzing, and for the first time in my life, standing in front of my family, I felt completely, utterly, and gloriously powerful. The rest of the party was a blur. As soon as I stepped down from the riser, Jace was there, grabbing me, swinging me around in a hug that lifted me off my feet. $50 million! He yelled over the sudden din of excited chatter. Izzy, wow. You never said, wow. His face was alight with pure, unadulterated pride, and it was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. Guests swarmed me. People I barely knew were shaking my hand, patting my back, their eyes wide with a new kind of respect. Congratulations, Isabel. That's incredible. A cybersecurity firm. Amazing. The shift was palpable. I was no longer plain broke Izzy. I was Isabel, CEO, the woman who had just dropped a $50 million bomb at her own engagement party. Across the room I saw Bethany giving me 2 thumbs up, her grin so wide it looked like it might split her face. Tristan, who had slipped in quietly after the toasts began, caught my eye and raised an imaginary glass, a look of profound satisfaction on his face. Then my parents materialized. They looked shell-shocked, their faces pale. Isabel, Dad stammered, his voice hoarse. We had no idea. 50 million. That's wonderful, dear. We're so proud of you, Mom chimed in, her voice a little too high-pitched, her smile strained. We always knew you had it in you. Deep down. Always knew? The hypocrisy was breathtaking. I offered them a cool, polite smile. Thank you. There was an awkward pause. They clearly expected more. Absolution, perhaps? An invitation to share in my success? If you'll excuse me, I said, turning away as Jace's parents approached, their faces wreathed in genuine smiles. Isabel, my dear, that was astonishing. Sarah, Jace's mum, exclaimed, taking both my hands. A cybersecurity firm. Tom and I are just blown away. You are quite the woman. Their uncomplicated joy was a stark contrast to the stunned confusion on my own parents' faces. And Amy? She was gone. Bethany later told me she'd seen Amy storm out, her face a mask of fury and humiliation, Denise trailing behind her like a lost, sequined puppy. No dramatic exit line, no further attempts to reclaim the spotlight. Just gone, vaporized by the sheer, undeniable force of my success. The revenge was sweeter, more complete, than I could have ever imagined. It wasn't just the shock on their faces, though that was undeniably satisfying. It was the irrefutable proof that they were wrong, so profoundly, publicly wrong about me, for so many years. Later that night, long after the last guests had departed, Jace and I sat on our couch, a bottle of champagne, the good stuff, not the cheap plonk Amy worried about, between us. To Aegis Security, Jace toasted, clinking his glass against mine, and to its brilliant, badass CEO. And to us, I said, smiling, feeling a lightness I hadn't realized I'd been missing for most of my life. To our future. Finally free. My phone, which had been buzzing intermittently, lit up again. A A string of texts from Mom and Dad, rambling, confused messages about needing to talk, about how they always supported me, about family. Then, a new one popped up. Amy. You think you're so clever, don't you? You always had to ruin everything. This doesn't change anything. You're still just pathetic little Izzy trying too hard. I read it. I felt a flicker of the old pain, that familiar ache of her casual cruelty. But then, something new washed over me, a wave of liberating indifference. Her words, once so potent, now felt empty, powerless. What is it? Jace asked, seeing my expression. I showed him the text. He snorted. Sour grapes much? Pretty much, I said. And for the first time, I actually believed it. I deleted the message, then the ones from my parents. Their opinions, their attempts to rewrite history, their desperate bids to reclaim some relevance in my narrative. They didn't matter anymore. Their power over me was broken, shattered into a million pieces on the floor of that party venue. The consequence of my revenge wasn't just their humiliation, though that was a definite perk. It was their forced confrontation with their own toxicity, their own monumental misjudgment. For me, the consequence was freedom. Validation, not from them, but from myself, from the success I had built with my own two hands, in secret, despite their constant belittling. I didn't need their apology. I didn't need their acceptance. I was finally, truly, gloriously free of needing anything from them at all. The sweetest revenge, I realized, wasn't just living well. It was succeeding beyond their wildest, most dismissive imaginations. And that felt pretty damn good.